Hi everyone, this is Penguin Trades, and this is a review for the ES and NQ futures for August 29th. This is our overnight high up here, and this is our overnight low down here. These are our key levels for the day. We're starting off on the ES here, and then we'll go to the NQ. So starting off, I started trading at 8 Central Time, which is this area right here. Now notice that we have this uptrend, and price makes a break in 2 attempts at a new high. So on that second attempt, price clearly makes a new high, and then we get a push below the EMA. It doesn't go far, but it does get below the EMA, and what this shows is that price is making an attempt to reverse. When a trend plays out, generally by making a two-legged move to a new high, you can expect price to attempt a reversal. Now, this is merely an attempt. It doesn't fully on reverse here. But it's a place to look for a reversal pattern at. So if we get a push below, a couple legs up, making a failed second entry, this is perfect context for that. A failed second entry is exactly what it sounds like, a failed second entry. So if we get a second entry long going down, we can look to get a failure, because if we can expect a reversal, then we shouldn't be taking a long. So if we can find a failed second entry long, we can look to try to get in on the stops of those who bought there. And so that's what we want to look for here, but in this case, the EMA just keeps holding prices up, preventing it from forming a reversal pattern. You know, right here on this bar, to the tick, starting from this high, you have first entry long, second entry long, and then this technically could be your failure entry, except it doesn't set up well. It's just holding above the EMA. It's not like it's pushing below and then holding below. It's unable to even get below. So nothing to take there, but it does have a little push down before immediately pushing back above the EMA, and then we just kind of go into this range right here. So uptrend has played out with a break in a new high. Price failed to reverse and then kind of just went into this range right here. And now at this point, we're retesting this overnight high again. We barely pierce through, and then it immediately starts pushing back lower. Now, what you have here, and you see how these are your first 2 legs to a new high. Since price failed to reverse, you have to look for bigger picture legs. And so what you have here on a bigger picture is 2 legs to a new high. Now this second leg up here is obviously much more sideways. It's not as clear and clean as this first leg, but as more price action forms, you have to learn how to combine these legs and see the bigger structures that are forming. Sometimes they're not going to be totally neat. In this case here, it's a lot more sideways, but what you have here, after these 2 attempts at a new high, price failed to reverse. That failure caused a second big picture leg to form. So now you have uptrend, break, first attempt higher, second attempt higher, and then failure. Well, I didn't mean to say failure here. That's just from, when I go through failed second entries. The price made the 2 legs at a new high, and then that caused price to reverse. So it's played out at this point. I didn't mean to say failure at new high. It's made a new high, so now you can expect price to reverse. You're coming off the overnight high. Price pushes lower here, and then we get this first leg down. Price makes a break from this leg as we reach this low. The low really wasn't confirmed at this point. You could just kind of tell there was some support in this area. And then after we found resistance there, I left it from this previous swing. And so we push up here. Now we have this downtrend coming from the high, break, and price starts pushing down to a new low. It makes a new low, but it's also still finding support off that same support level. And so the downtrend is played out. And since it's clearly forming support, what that is called a bullish imbalance. We have this overnight range right here, the overnight high, the overnight low. When you come off one side, you can expect price to attempt to reach the other side. So when price initially failed to reverse, this is the start of a bullish imbalance. And then as price made that bigger picture leg and then still couldn't reverse with the 2 bigger picture legs down, this is a very clear bullish imbalance here. And so when we rush above the EMA here, as you can see, limit order, you don't want to push your target through the overnight high. Clearly, there's a lot of resistance right here. These are key levels for a reason. It's because price reacts to them a lot. It just reacts, bounces right off of them. Look right here. Price wicked onto it and then immediately pushed lower. Now, considering this is a failure entry right here, this failure to reverse, this downtrend, it's played out, but price is unable to reverse, and so I am willing to go long right here due to the bullish imbalance. I don't mind pushing it. I don't mind if price has to do 1 tick out. We have good context for a long here. So we push on out here. Now we break out. Now I just want to show here with this arrow on a bigger picture, and this can be harder to see, but just like I was explaining here with this break and these 2 bigger legs to a new high, on an even bigger picture, and sorry, let me just back up for a sec because I want to be super clear here. Remember how I explained that after the break, we have these 2 attempts higher, and then since it failed to reverse, it could have reversed on down from here, and then that would have been the end of the trend if we had just pushed lower. But since it failed to reverse, that failure created the second bigger leg, right? As I explained. Now, after that, price has failed to reverse again. And so what you need to look at here is the original trend expanding. So this whole thing is one trend on a bigger picture. Now, since this reversal failed, it's now just a 2-legged break. Do you see what I'm saying? So now you have uptrend, and then this is your break. Since it was unable to reverse and is clearly has some bullishness here that it's holding on to, it's no longer a reversal. Now it's a 2-legged break that has support pushing up bullishly, and it's just a break from this uptrend. So now you have uptrend, 2-legged break. This is basically forming a very big picture failed second entry. Push up to a new high. So now on an even bigger picture, this uptrend has a break, 2-legged break, and then this is your first leg up to a new high, which then has 2 legs separating it before the second leg to a new high. So uptrend, break, first leg at a new high, makes a new high, but we still get that second leg up here. Perfect measured move, good reaction to it. So it's extremely important to understand measured moves. It's very important to understand, just seeing price action, getting bigger picture in real time. It's crucial to understand this stuff. So anyway, we push up here, we break out of the overnight high. Now we've made a new high for the uptrend. It's considered to be played out, and then here we get our 2 attempts to fade. When you break out of an overnight level or a range level, you don't want to just immediately buy with the breakout. You see these bullish bars pushing out. It doesn't mean you want to buy. You want to wait for 2 clear attempts to fade. Second entries don't come out of nowhere. They form based off of trying to reach magnets, trying to reach the EMA, pushing off of key levels. It's based on human psychology. When you break out of an overnight level, people know that people try to fade. And so due to that, of people knowing that other people read the chart and view that as, oh, it's going to attempt to fade, they pile in on it, and then they generally try twice. So first attempt, second attempt, and then they give up, and then them giving up allows the market to move the other direction because their stops are getting hit. They've only tried twice to move lower here, and then they just give up, sell off their, or buy off their shorts, and then, price rises. So it's all about human psychology. But anyway, so here we have our 2 attempts to fade. The measured move is met. It does successfully fade a tiny bit here, but this, when it pushes right back out after 2 legs of this size, this is really just a retest, even though it slightly got in here. Price immediately pushed back out, pushed out of this wider trend line that was forming. So what you have here is not only 2 attempts to fade, you have 2 attempts to reverse from this uptrend playing out. So uptrend, break, new high, first attempt to reverse, second attempt to reverse, failure, also 2 failed attempts to fade. And so this is a great place to go long here as soon as it closes out of this right here, this little trend that's forming with a bullish bar closing on its high. Great looking trade right here. So anyway, we push on up here. And also I want to mention this swing right here, it's significant enough to put the stop below. Sometimes on tiny swings, I just put it for the full stop, but this is clearly significant enough, has a good hold on the overnight high. So I like that there. We push on up here. Starts to go a little bit sideways as it's approaching this measured move, but it does eventually reach it, and as soon as it reaches it, price immediately has a good bearish push below the EMA. What I would have liked to see is 2 clear legs down to the key entry point here just to continue this up channel, because this is a pretty clear uptrend here. And so it doesn't happen. It just immediately pushes back up after reaching that support right there, and then we have a new high again, and then we start another push down. Again, this is a place I'd want to see 2 legs down to the key entry point. Doesn't happen. It just has 1 sharp push down. It's just a first entry, which means it's not safe to go long there. But what happens is it forms this failed second entry. We're clearly forming this range right here. We've got these lows, we've got these highs. It's clearly going sideways. The EMA is right in the middle. Prices are up and down. And starting from this low, we have first entry short, second entry short, and then failure. Price pushes back above the EMA. We get this hold right here, finally on this bar right there, and then slight limit order was needed, but it was no problem going in 1 tick early. Just needed to get out before here. Clearly price, this is the high of the day at this point. There's clearly some kind of resistance right here. I don't mind pushing it a tick out, but considering it is the high of the day, it doesn't hurt to just get in with a slight limit order if you can. So, anyway, we push on up here, failed second entry, but that's not the only way that you have to view this here. This failed second entry has confluence from this downtrend. So, downtrend, break, first attempt lower, second attempt lower. So this is the full measured move right here. Obviously, price does not reach that full measured move. You just get your 2 attempts and then the failure. So downtrend, break, first attempt lower, second attempt lower, failure, which is confluent with this failed second entry that just pushed off of this uptrend and is, just faded this little range right here. So everything is looking to go long right here. It was a little bit more sideways than I like, but it doesn't really matter because the legs are super clear and the overall context is completely bullish. But if you ever are worried if something is too choppy and you're new to this, maybe just stay out of it. But you can read through the chop. You just have to have good context in it. I don't mind trading in chop. It just has to have really good overall big picture context, and you have to be able to still clearly read what's going on here. Because even though it's sideways, you can still tell that it's just a push up and then 2 legs down. So anyway, we push up here. We make the second leg up, so we have this 2-legged move up from here now, but price does end up pushing on through and making, a much bigger leg on that second leg. Well, once we make a new high, price tries to reverse, just 1 attempt. You don't want to go long here. It's just, a new high, first entry. We push on up again, make another new high, and then we get this 2-legged move down, and looks like we're getting a pretty good reaction to it. As soon as it was met, price immediately pushed all the way back up to the EMA, and now price is struggling to, get through the EMA and also struggling to get through the measured move, so therefore it's getting very choppy. So we'll see what happens. This uptrend now has a break, so we can expect prices to attempt a new high, a good place to get a rush above and a couple legs back, making a failed second entry. But we'll see what happens. I'm going to hop over to the NQ now. So here we are on the Nasdaq. This is our overnight high. This is our overnight low. Again, I started trading at 8 Central Time, which is this area right here. And so we have this uptrend, break, first attempt higher, second attempt higher, and then price attempts to reverse. So in this case here, on the ES, the uptrend had already made a new high at this point. And before I continue, I just want to mention for anyone who's new, I trade the ES and I trade the NQ. These markets will follow each other sometimes. Sometimes they'll look very similar on some days, and some days they'll look wildly different. So it's important to understand that, I will make some references between each other, comparing each other. So it doesn't mean you want to trade one based off of the other at all. It absolutely does not mean that, and I don't recommend doing that at all. But I'm just saying they do follow each other somewhat, and I will make I'll kind of relate them to each other sometimes. So I'm gonna go back to the ES just for a sec to show this area. So at the beginning we had uptrend, break, 2 pushes up to a new high. So at this point the uptrend is considered played out. Now on the NQ here, the uptrend does not make a new high. It just has 2 attempts at a new high, which you can get a failure on. And so even though it doesn't make a new high, if you get a good failure and price still pushes below, then you can still look for a reversal. You are at the overnight high. It's a common reversal area. You have your 2 attempts. If you rush below, you can get a reversal pattern. If it sets up well, then you want to take it. But in this case here, it does end up pushing on higher here, and it doesn't reverse, as you can see. I don't like this higher low right here. I know someone is probably going to ask about that. You just made this new high right here, pushing off the overnight high. You need to see 2 attempts before you go long again. Now, and also, if you want to say that this is a second attempt, like first entry, second entry, I understand, but that's just not big picture enough. This second leg down is like almost nothing compared to this first leg. It could very easily tick higher and then complete a second leg down on a small failure. So anyway, nothing there. We push up. We get this right here, another swing, not off the EMA or anything. It just pushes below. Really nothing to take in this area, nothing to go long, obviously just coming off the overnight high, and there's also nothing to go short because price can't get below the EMA. And so nothing in this whole area here. We push up. At this point, now the uptrend is played out. We have uptrend, break, and a push up to a new high. It's considered played out at this point. We have this uptrend going up here from these 2 swings. Now, right here, we get these 2 legs down. There's a reason I don't like going long here, even though we get a good, this bullish bar coming off this measured move right here. And that's because considering the uptrend just played out at a common reversal area, and it had a very sharp push below, even though overshoots tend to lead to breaks, I can't ignore the bigger picture context, which is that the uptrend is played out, and it got very choppy after a very bearish push below, and we're still entering into the trend. So, into this trend line right here. So overall, it's just not perfect for long. Sometimes I don't mind pushing price through a little bit. If there's a smaller key entry point, sometimes I don't care about pushing price through it if it has extremely good big picture context, but we just don't have that here for the long. So I'm not going to enter directly into that. So anyway, we push on up here. It does hold. One thing can be tempting because, as it was going sideways here, and then as soon as this one bar wicked off of this trend line, it just shot on up, and that can tempt people to immediately jump on in. But you still got to consider the bigger picture context. You can't trade based off of price having a quick reaction off of a level. But anyway, so we push up here, we get a new high, and then another leg down. So it's just one leg, it's not a two-legged move. We're already breaking the trend line after that first leg. So then when we get this tiny break to a new low, you're entering into that resistance. Absolutely, you don't want to do that. But also, it's just not big picture enough as a second entry. It's just one leg down, really. And so, anyway, we push on up here. We make this new high. So this uptrend has a small break and a new high. Really, it probably doesn't count. I mean, like, you can look to extend it and see how it holds. Looks like you got some reaction off of it there. But really, you get your first break right here. Okay, so uptrend, break, then you get your push up to a new high. This is very small and insignificant. It's like, it could have been what led to the break, uptrend, break, new high, reversal from the new high, but it's really just creating the bigger picture break. You see what I'm saying? And so, anyway, we get our uptrend, we start pushing lower right here. Again, you want to see a second entry, you just get one leg down, so there's nothing to take on a long there, and then we get our break. So now that the uptrend has a break, we can expect prices to attempt a new high. Now, we can't enter long inside of this downtrend. You don't want to enter directly into those channel highs right there. And we almost retest the overnight high. What I would really have liked to see is two clear legs down, retesting the overnight high. That way it's like a two-legged break from the channel, expecting a new high off of a major resistance level or support level. And so that's what I would have liked to seen, but it doesn't happen. You can still see that there's two legs down right there, but it just doesn't come off of anything. It just, it kind of makes this double bottom with this over here, but that's really not enough support to take off of right here. And so anyway, here we get this break. So now the downtrend has a break. This downtrend obviously is the break from this uptrend, but you still have to consider it. Sometimes what you'll get is you'll have an uptrend, say a larger uptrend, and then a smaller downtrend, which is the break. And then the downtrend gets a break, a couple attempts at a new low, which offers you a perfect entry to go long to make a new high for the uptrend. And so that's what I would like to see here. If we push up here, get two clear legs down, what you'll have is a downtrend with a break and two attempts at a new low, so you can look to get in on the failure. You can look to get long on the failure, which has perfect context to make a new high for this uptrend. And so that's what I'd like to see here, but it just doesn't happen. We continue on up. We just got to sit on our hands. It starts to get a little bit choppy. This uptrend gets a break right here, push to a new high. Really, it's just forming this small two-legged move, which on a bigger picture is clearly one leg. And so now you have uptrend, break, push to a new high, and now that you've made a new high, it's borderline. It is clearly a new high by at least a couple points, but it is basically making a double top right there. It's in the same exact area. It's forming this range. But we get our two clear attempts to reverse. So we have to draw this wider trend line right here. From here, put it off that low. Price ends up reacting right off of it at that measured move. And so this is a great place to look for a long. You're holding off this trend line. You have your two attempts to reverse. If price pushes up here, then the reversal is failing and it's continuing with the wider trend. And that's what starts to happen here. We push on up, get this little break, push to a new high, but really I'm still looking at the overall bigger picture context. And what do you see here? From this move here, we have a failed second entry. First entry short, second entry short. We can look for the failure here, and we have perfect context for that because everything is pointing towards going long. We're off this trend line. We have the failed second entry. Even though this uptrend has played out with a break and a new high, we have our two attempts to reverse, and clearly this trend line is stronger than the bears that want to reverse because we're already pushing up off of it, getting above the EMA. And so Really, this is like a higher low after a failed second entry, a big picture failed second entry. Stemming from this point right here, it's not like we have a clear failed second entry. It really is just, a couple pushes up and then it gets choppy. Price attempts to reverse. After we make this new high here, price makes an attempt to reverse, clearly holds up from this trend line right here. And then when we get that spike up right there, it's clearly pushing out of this chop, continuing with the it's basically just continuing the bigger picture failed second entry right here. And so, great looking trade, plenty of room to those highs right there. We're clearly in this range. So, we have an uptrend and a range at the same time. You just want to keep riding it all the way up that you can without, pushing it through these highs here, because you can't expect it to just push on through. It's a very clear range. The EMA is straight sideways. These lows, fit right along with these highs. So you just got to be careful. We push on up here. As soon as this overnight, or excuse me, I almost called this the overnight high. As soon as this, I'm getting my terms all mixed up here. As soon as this range high was met right here, price immediately has a spike down. It retested again. We got another spike down. It clearly is a two-legged move. Even though this wick went higher than there, these bodies are still lower. It's still a two-legged move down. And then we get a break. And so now this uptrend has a break, and we can expect price to attempt a new high. What I really would have liked to see, because it could have already happened if it had just happened, was after this break, like starting from right here, if we got two clear legs up from right there, then what we'd have is, let me just draw it out really quick. What we'd have is a big picture failed second entry, a nice failed second entry. And what that would include for this uptrend is, after the break, we get our first attempt at a new high, second attempt at a new high, and then we can look to get short on the failure and make the second leg down. And so, it'd be a failed second entry with confluence from the uptrend. That's really what I would like to see in this area. But, we can't always have what we want. We get this downtrend break, price pushes to a new low. We don't get a clear two-legged break. It's just this one leg, so I don't like going short there, especially considering, again, this uptrend right here. That's why I want to see two bigger legs at a new high. So we just don't get anything here. That's perfectly fine. Still got this here, obviously also with the ES, and so no problem. Anyway, that's probably going to do it for this video. I hope it helped out in some way, and thanks for watching. I'll see you all next time.